Hello and welcome to episode number 60 of The Pitcher or the Hitter, the podcast by the M-SABR Dynasty League for the M-SABR Dynasty League. I am Cam.
I'm Sahil.
And this one is going to be, depending on when we put this up, either our last episode of 2021 or our first episode of 2022. Either way, very exciting and kind of bringing in the new year. Very exciting time. And this podcast will be going into its third calendar year.
Yeah, I'm pretty impressed with how many we were. I need to double check how many we did this year, like this calendar year, but we got through we were pretty consistent throughout the year and getting these out.
We really were, yeah.
Here we go. We put up a New Year's resolutions episode. That was episode 15. So I think we've done about 45-ish episodes.
That's insane. This one will be our 46th of the year if it comes out in 2021. And you, the listener, already know if we made it. So either yay us or boo us.
Yeah, I mean, that's insane. That's almost one a week. I know there was a couple weeks where we chose not to do one for various reasons, but I'm pretty impressed with us that we've been able to keep up this pace. So hopefully we have another 46 in store in 2022.
Hopefully. During the regular season, we got it set to do it on a weekly basis. In the off season, there's less of a pressure for that. But yeah, I think we could definitely get 46. And if we do this pace, then we'll be hitting 100 right around the end of next year, maybe sometime in November.
Yeah. Oh man, we're gonna have to go all out for that. Man. That's going to be an exciting one. Oh man, I don't know if I ever thought we were going to reach 100. Hopefully it all works out. But yeah, absolutely crazy. But we have a good one for you here today. As usual, a lot of trades to talk about by some of the usual suspects. Mainly EVO and Jake. Do we want to dive right into those?
Before we dive into them though, Kyle Seager retired, which kind of came as a shock to a lot of us, including Anthony, who now no longer has a third baseman on his team. He hasn't gotten rid of Seager yet. He did list him as on the block, which I find kind of funny. Team Resnick changed Kyle Seager to likely to trade.
Yeah, maybe someone will take him on. Maybe Greg will want his Mariner namesake.
Maybe he will. Seager, I thought he may have traded for him this offseason. It looks like he did not. That was last offseason he traded for Seager. But really, I know a lot of teams are a little bit slim at third base. Third base is kind of thin, and now it's one thinner. He reached out on Kevin Biggio. I know he's expressed interest in Alec Boehm. There are also some interesting names out there as free agents. Joey Wensleydale, maybe the most interesting, especially since Anthony previously owned him. I would say he's the odds-on favorite to be the replacement for Seager. But is there anyone else you're thinking?
Gio Urshela is a name that interests me. He was really good in 2019 and 2020 before struggling a bit last year, but I think the playing time will be there, and he's gonna have the added bonus of shortstop eligibility. I think JD Davis is a name that has always kind of stood out to me as a player who's really good, but he just can't stay healthy. Hasn't always found playing time so easily, but I think the potential is definitely there. But I think if Anthony wants to make kind of an upgrade over Seager, I think he's going to have to trade. If he wants to get a guy, he's probably going to give him like 80 to 90% of Seager's production. Because while the OBP was low last year, he had 35 homers and 100 ribbies. I think he could probably just stick with the waiver wire. But we'll see. This is definitely something to, keep track of. Seager was his only third base eligible player on this roster. So,
I mean, I'm sure he's not going to go without a third baseman on his opening day roster. He's going to do something, either picking someone up or maybe even making a trade for one. Or maybe he just keeps Seager and hopes he comes out of retirement. I don't know.
Oh, that would be fun. Honestly, I thought Seager would have been an interesting guy for next year, just because I kind of thought he'd sign with a team like Toronto and just have a lot of opportunities to drive guys in.
Yeah.
But
Are you? It sounds like you're just thinking of Justin Smoke when you say that.
You know what? Strangely, I'm pretty sure that was exactly what I thought he was going to have, like that Justin Smoke role. Except because the Blue Jays lineup is deeper, he'd probably be batting more like seventh. But yeah, literally exactly I was thinking Justin Smoke numbers.
Yeah, I mean there are certainly teams that would want him. I know not the Reds because they've already got like 5 third basemen in their lineup, but plenty of other teams I'm sure could have found a spot for him. But if he's happy, then I'm happy for him.
Yeah, definitely. It's a shame he's retiring without ever without ever playing in the playoffs. But that's what you get when you spend a decade with the Mariners.
Brutal. Which I saw now the current active record holder for most games played without playing in the playoffs is someone on my team, Gene Segura. He's played in our league's playoffs though, so that should count for something.
Yeah,
and against those Kyle Seager.
Yeah, as is Kyle Seager. I was honestly a little surprised to see that Gene Segura never played in the playoffs, but I guess he was because he's been all over. I thought he was with one of those Brewer teams that made the playoffs with Zach Greinke, and then I realized I think he was traded for Zach Greinke. So
maybe I was surprised he didn't make it when he was on the D-backs, because he was because one of those D-backs teams. I know they kind of defy logic in terms of making the playoffs or not making the playoffs, what years they're going to be good, what years they're going to be bad. So I kind of could have thought he was on one of those teams, but I guess not.
He was with the Diamondbacks 1 year in 2016, and that year
was his only year with the Diamondbacks. Really,
only year they finished 69 and 93 that year.
Huh? I could have sworn he was with them for like 3 years.
No, and you know what? That was the year that they thought they were going to compete because they acquired Shelby Miller, and they had Greinke, and I forget who the other big guy they had was that they signed, or maybe that was the year before where they got. No, it was that year. So actually, it's funny because if you look at that rotation now, like Robbie Ray was in that rotation and Patrick Corbin was in that rotation. Shelby Miller, Archie Bradley. So it's an interesting group of names. But I won't go too far kind of off the charts here. Let's move on to these trades.
All right. Yep. And the first trade that was made since the last time we recorded, that was was this the Miles Straw trade?
No, this was Bo with the Flows agreed to send Jose Abreu and Spencer Howard to EBO in exchange for Blake Snell, Ryan Presley, and Cam's 2023 third round pick.
Yeah, this was a surprising one. We had 2 trades on Christmas Eve and 3 trades on Christmas. Very fun. This one, I think we were kind of both in agreement that I don't know. Now that I'm looking at it, I don't remember which side I liked.
I'll say this. The 2 teams that I feel like make the most trades where I look at them at first and I'm like, oh, this is clearly goes in one direction. And then when I look at it like 5 minutes later, I'm like, well, actually, it's Jake and it's EBO. Those 2 teams always do that. So I'll say this because I talked to Zane about this, and let's see if I can pull up the stat that I told him. And I was like, this one stat made me like this trade better for him. And here it is. Do you want to guess the last season that Blake Snell averaged at least 5 innings per start.
Was that his Cy Young year?
Yes, it was his
2018.
Yeah, it was in 2018. That
2018.
right, and then it's like so, and then in 2 of his last 3 years, he had a 4.29 ERA in 2019, the 4.20 ERA in 2021. I get that he pitched really well, kind of at the end of the season, but I think everybody was like, "Oh, in San Diego, they're going to let him pitch really deep. It's going to work out," but it really wasn't. And he almost walked 5 batters per 9. But yeah, I'm just not really seeing it with Snell, and I'm not super confident about him moving forward. I think he's a little overrated. Abreu, I don't like the fact that he is 35, but he's coming off another really good year. EBO didn't exactly have the strongest group of first basemen. Rhys Hoskins is decent, but not amazing. LeMahieu's coming off a down year. So I do like that addition. I think Ryan Presley, it's a solid closer, but EBO's a lot of relievers, and my whole shtick about relievers being replaceable. And then Spencer Howard, I'm actually kind of surprised that EBO cut him. I thought Spencer Howard would be a nice bounce back candidate, because if you recall last year, like there were a lot of teams that wanted Spencer Howard. He was a really popular guy, and like Alex was really high on him when he included him or demanded that EBO include him in a Mookie Betts deal. And now he's just sitting on the waiver wire after, one kind of mediocre year. So I'm a little surprised by that. They did pick up Chris Flexen to replace Spencer Howard, which may or may not be a better bet. But yeah, I think EBO wins this trade slightly. And this might be because of my Snell bias. But if Snell bounces back, I think Jake pretty clearly wins this.
Yeah, I think so. I guess it depends on if Abreu keeps doing his thing. This is yet another chapter in the Blake Snell for Yu Darvish and Dane Dunning deal that is maybe my version of the Brandon Woodruff's deal in that it's the deal that I talk about the most because I think it's the deal that's had the most twists and turns in how people think about it over the course of league history, and and I lost in the short term, but probably won in the long term, and that's kind of fun.
Oh yeah, it's I feel like, yeah, I mean, it's funny to me how they're now teammates.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what's interesting, and to kind of build on the last thing I said, me winning in the long term but losing in the short term is not the type of thing you normally say when you trade for the pitcher who's several years older.
No, not at all. It's a trade that really doesn't make any sense. But it happened. I'm sure we're going to be looking back at that trade a few more times on this podcast.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is not the end. Certainly. I also, by the way, included Dane Dunning in the trade for the pick that got me Joey Bart, 3rd overall in that draft.
Oh man, it's crazy. Like how many trades do you think you could trace to like our first like 5 trades or something in the league?
Oh, so many.
Yeah, it's got to be a lot. It definitely can't be all of them, but it has to be like
the trade trees from that.
Insane. Yeah, I'd be really curious.
Insane in the membrane.
One of these days, like when I finish the bar exam, I'm just gonna sit down with a giant piece of paper and just map all these out, because I'm gonna have so much free time in my hands and I'm gonna be really bored. But one thing I wanted to bring up, last offseason, EBO and Jake made another Blake Snell trade.
Did they?
Yep. EBO sent Yordan Alvarez and Michael Brantley to Clayton and Jake for Blake Snell, Alex Verdugo, Rocky legend David Dahl, year 2022 second, and Clayton and Jake's 2023 third.
Huh. Interesting.
In a trade that I think it's safe to say EBO lost.
I think it is safe to say that.
Yeah. Yordan Alvarez is very good. But
Yadri, good old Yadri.
good old Yadri. Are we ready to talk about this next deal here?
Yes, let's move it along. The next deal that was made, scrolling up. Eric traded MJ Melendez, Edward Cabrera, Connor's 2024 first and EBO's 2024 second to Bo the Flow for Nick Yorke, Ryan Pepio, Jake's 2023 first, and my 2023 third. So kind of a lot going on. The top, I guess the big pieces were the 2 first rounders, and then maybe Nick Yorke and Edward Cabrera. I know Edward Cabrera, he's got that. He throws pretty hard. But what do you think of this deal? There's kind of a lot to look at.
Yeah, this is another one of those deals. And I looked at it at first, it's like, maybe one team wins. And I'm like, maybe the other team wins. Edward Cabrera struggled a bit with his command this year in both AAA and the majors. Maybe he bounces back. I kind of like the decision by Eric to move off of him just because like he has a lot of other pitchers, and especially other pitchers who are going to lose like prospect eligibility or who are kind of young and a little risky. So I think he had the depth to move off Cabrera. Melendez is interesting because Melendez had a crazy year in the minors. And I'm talking like he basically had Sal Perez's year, but in the minors. He hit 41 homers between AA and AAA. He had with really high OBPs too. I wonder. So I've listened to a couple podcasts that have suggested that means it's the time to sell high on MJ Melendez, and I kind of buy that. But it's hard to tell. He still does have Sal Perez blocking him, and I don't know if the Royals are going to trade him anytime soon. So I wonder if in the short term there's some playing time concerns. Nick Yorke is. It's interesting because I remember when the Red Sox drafted him, there was a lot of like they drafted who, but Yorke had a really good year between low A and high A. He's getting a lot of hype. I think Fantrax just rated him as their third best second base prospect. I think you could argue he's the best prospect in this trade. I don't know a ton about Ryan Pepio, admittedly, other than the fact that Clayton and Jake owned him for like what seemed like forever. But let's see if I can load up his Fangraphs page here. My computer wants to cooperate. I mean, he's like all right. I don't think he's like a world beater or anything, but I think he's a decent pitching prospect. He did struggle in AAA this year. I do like that Eric was able to get a 2023 first and doesn't ship out the 2024 first, just because I think the 2023 draft is particularly good. So I think I give the edge a bit to Eric, but I think you could argue both ways. Like I think Eric got the best prospect and the best pick in this deal. So I have to side with him.
Yeah, I think he did. Edward Cabrera, like I said, could break out, but yeah, I think there's not much more to say about this deal. The next one, though, EBO traded Avisail Garcia and its 2023 first to another deal with Bo with the Flow, acquiring Kyle Lewis, Jhonkensy Noel, and their own 2024 second. This was the one that 2024 second, which was just sent to that team by Eric. So that big moving twice. What do you think about this deal?
Yeah, this one stumped me a bit. On one hand, Kyle Lewis was a rookie of the year in 2020. He did struggle a bit in 2021 with the injuries. He feels kind of like a buy low. But I also really like Avisail Garcia. I feel like he's kind of a bit perpetually underrated. He had like he had 29 homers and 8 stolen bases last year. And he was 20 homers and 10 stolen bases in 2019. So it was interesting that he is kind of running quite a bit. I think Miami's a team that's going to let him run. So I think there's going to be some stolen base upside there. I don't know if the OBP upside super high. He's at a 332, 333, and 330 the past 3 years. But combined with that power, I think it's a pretty solid profile. He's going to play every day, and he's only going to be 31. So while the park might be a bit worse than Miller Park, I think he's a really solid get. And I know EBO's 2 other first round picks. I don't know if I would have rather kept the first round pick or Noel. I mean, Noel's been getting a lot of hype, and he's really high up on like some of these like Fantrax ratings, but I don't know. I can't tell if Noel is just a pop-up prospect or not. And I think I'd rather have kept the pick, especially if you're considering that EBO's first round pick this year is a 7 or 8.
I would be.
It's 8.
8.
So yeah. Like if it's the 8th overall pick next year, I mean, unless they're really confident they're gonna, be in the championship next year, which I'm not confident enough about their team to say definitively. I think they might be giving up the better hitter and the better pick in this deal. And that being said, if Kyle Lewis bounces back and looks more like his rookie of the year for him, I think they probably win this deal. But it's a bit of a gamble, and not a gamble I know that they needed to take, or one that I would have done kind of given the return that they got.
Yeah, so I'll weigh in here. I maybe like the deal a little better for them. Kyle Lewis, I think, is a great bounce back candidate. He hit the ball pretty well this past year. Even though the results weren't the same as they were in his rookie year, he actually was making just as good, if not better, contact. The BABIP was down. So I think, and especially with him being a lot younger than Garcia, although Garcia is a guy who I kind of was doing some research on, and I like him better than I thought I did. He's got the steals, like you said. He's a few years younger than I was expecting. It feels like he's been around forever. And he hits the ball well. He gets a lot of doubles. So he's a good get. And I agree. I'd much rather have the first rounder than Jhonkensy Noel. I'm not sure if they were purported to be equivalent pieces in that deal. Noel kind of is maybe a pop-up type prospect, but EBO is also getting a 2024 second. And it seems like they're just kind of trying to move some picks backwards and move some picks down the line a little bit, kick the can down the road, because they've got a lot of picks in the next 2 drafts. And this deal kind of helps them trade a 2023 pick for a 2024 pick as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, for what it's worth, I've talked to Zane, and Zane, really likes Noel. It's so hard to tell these pop-up prospects. I mean, it's kind of the same thing with me with Kobe Mayo earlier this offseason. I personally really like Kobe Mayo, but I also recognize he could just be a pop-up prospect that, his stock is rising now and maybe he falls a bit later. Same thing with Noel. For example, look at Jordan Adams last offseason. He was getting a lot of hype because of the tools that he has. And he didn't have the best year. And now nobody's talking about Jordan Adams. I mean, there's plenty of these prospects. It's like playing the stock market. I'd rather have a guy with a better kind of pedigree, AKA to pick, than the pop-up prospect. But, if he likes Noel, then, I think this might make it more worth it for him.
Yeah, I think so. And it's possible. I don't think he would trade the first directly for Noel. It was all part of the bigger grand scheme of things here.
Perhaps he thinks Kyle Lewis is better than Avisail Garcia.
He might. I mean, I think they're decently close.
I feel like Kyle Lewis's upside might be maybe slightly higher than what Garcia is producing right now. And then there's a question of how much longer is Garcia going to produce this, and what happens to him when he goes to Miami. Because, maybe he hits fewer homers in Miami. Like, you just don't know.
In our other league, we own both. So
yeah, that's true. Actually, I didn't even think about the fact we drafted Kyle Lewis. And we could have had Noel, but he just went.
We could. And we haven't mentioned this yet, and I don't know why we haven't, but Noel was traded on Christmas.
Oh, I love that. That's great. Oh man. Anything else on this trade, or do we want to move to the next one?
Let's move on. The next pick was a swap of third rounders. EBO traded a 2022 third for a 2023 third. Not a whole lot to talk about there. They're moving back a year, but also maybe moving a couple picks backwards. Not especially since that Daniel and Greg's pick is going to be the first pick of the third round guaranteed. We don't know where Ruth Vicks and Nick's is going to be next year, but I think they just want to move back a year, and that's fine.
Yeah, I don't blame them for wanting to move back. Like, honestly, if they were like, hey, include a 2026 third or something like that, because, you know, you're getting the guaranteed first pick in around, I probably would have done it. But like, I think it makes a negligible impact. I mean, we're talking third round picks here. This trade's not worth talking about more than the conclusion of this sentence.
Yeah. And the next two trades are kind of similarly small. Eric traded Yuri Perez and a 2027 second rounder to EBO for Mike Clevenger and my 2022 second. I don't know a whole lot about Yuri Perez. I owned him in an OTP save once, and he was pretty good for me. I don't know how he is in real life. But my 2022 second is, what is that? That's pick number 21, which could be a little interesting. That has now moved from me to Anthony to Eric to Jake to EBO to Eric again. I love seeing picks move like that. But yeah, not a whole lot to say about this. Mike Clevenger. We've talked about him at length on this podcast already.
I have more to say about this trade because I don't think you're giving Yuri Perez enough credit.
Okay, I don't know anything about him.
Yuri Perez, as an 18-year-old in high A this year, had a 2.86 ERA in 5 starts, and in low A at a 1.61 ERA in 15 starts, with pretty solid peripherals across the board. He had a 0.32 homer per 9 rate in low A. He's one of those like Miami pitching prospects that kind of came out of nowhere and is like performing really well. My problem with him is he's an 18-year-old pitching prospect, which, you know, Tinstap, you know, there is no such thing as a pitching prospect, and there's a lot more added risk given the fact that he is 18, but that also means that he has more time to kind of, you know, build up into, you know, get stronger, more velocity on his pitches. He's really interesting. I like him. I don't know how much I give up for him, just given that he's an 18-year-old pitching prospect, but I like him. Mike Clevenger, I think, you know, you and I have talked about these double TJ guys quite a bit. You know, their track record isn't as strong when they come back. I might be a little higher in Clevenger than you are. I don't think EVO needed Clevenger. I think they have plenty of starters without him. I wonder if maybe they could have gotten a prospect with a little less risk. But also, I think maybe that's kind of what is appealing to them here, is the high ceiling, but the high risk. I think I like this deal for them a little better. Now, if Clevenger bounces back this year and is decent, like maybe they end up losing this deal. But then there's also the question of like, well, maybe Clevenger's good in 2022, but how much longer is that arm going to kind of hold up? So I like the decision to move off Clevenger. But I also don't think it's a terrible gamble for Eric, but I think EBO wins this deal.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they're certainly looking at Perez's numbers. You're going to see a bunch of pitchers like him every year. And some of them hit and most of them don't. So getting in on the ground floor of him could be an interesting, I guess, interesting gamble for no real risk. But yeah, ready to move on to the final trade. And this is one that kind of bugged me. Eric traded Mark Vientos and EBO's 2027 second. So that's 2 trades in which Eric traded two different 2027 second rounders away. But he traded that to Deep Sea Devers for its own 2025 second. So Eric moved up 2 years. And who really knows how good these two teams are going to be in 2025 and 2027. But he also gave Mark Vientos to Ruth Vick. And the reason this bugs me is because, well, I previously owned Mark Vientos. I cut him during the season. And I was told countless times by countless teams, including Ruth Vick, that I would like to trade for any of your prospects except for Mark Vientos.
Yeah, I definitely said that quite a few times.
Yeah, and the same goes. I mean, Brian Rocchio on my team too gets the same treatment. Like, he's a very good prospect. I don't know why people don't like him. Is it because he's the worst guy on my team out of my very good group of prospects? I don't know. And I have some guys who are worse than that now. I don't know why. But anyway, it kind of, I don't know. There's something I feel like I have a little bit of a weak spot when it comes to trading players.
Yeah. With the second round pick swap being so late, I mean, this trade basically feels like Eric just gave like Mark Vientos for free. And I don't think that was particularly smart. Now, like, in people's defense, Vientos in 2019 was pretty bad. Vientos in 2021 was pretty good. So I think there are a lot of people who are willing to, gamble on Vientos because of that. I certainly would have given Eric more than I think he got from Eric, but I get that this is kind of for him. He needs a clearer prospect space for the draft. But to answer your other question about why people, I don't think, really want to Vientos, it's kind of interesting. Like, when I look at your prospects and I see like Adley, I see Grayson Rodriguez and Vidal Brujan, and all these guys, and then at the bottom of the list I see Mark Vientos. I'm like, like, there's a bunch of good guys, and then there's Mark Vientos. But then when Mark Vientos is on like a worse farm or somebody comparable, you're looking at all these guys and you're like, they kind of suck. And you're like, oh, Mark Vientos, he could be interesting because there's nobody else better sitting in that farm system. So
Well, it's not like Eric has a weak farm system or anything.
No, yeah, but like, I don't know. I think, but I think the difference was that like Eric was more looking at him more as like literally, let's just like dump him for any cost. Whereas, maybe you were looking to include Vientos as a prospect for a little bit of value.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess. And he does need to cut some guys. I should probably get rid of some prospects somehow too for the draft. Anyway, that was a deal that happened, and that was all the deals that there were this past week.
Yeah, please feel free to give me all your prospects. I will gladly take pretty much any of them, or probably an upgrade somehow to my farm system. I would also be interested in your draft picks, but I'm not here just to solicit all your players and picks. Are we ready for our final segment?
Yes, let's get into this. Why don't you, this was your brainchild. Why don't you explain the Sahil?
Yes. So I wanted to do something to celebrate 2021 in the league. And I was like, maybe Cam and I could go through and we could, be like, what was like the best trade of 2021, or like the most surprising thing that happened in 2021. I was like, well, and then you had the good point of like, well, we already did that with the awards. So then I came up with something else. And it's a quiz game. I'm gonna ask you 10 questions about things that happened in the league in 2021. It's a variety of types of questions. Some of them are like, guess which year that this happened in. Was it in 2021 or 2020? There's some true or false in here. There's a multiple choice. There's a couple where you're just gonna have to guess, and I'm gonna be curious to see how close you actually do get to the answer. But there are 10 questions here. And I'm going to see how many of them you can get right. Before we do this, do you want to guess how many of these you're going to get right?
There are 10, correct?
There are 10 questions.
Oh God, this isn't going to age well. I'm gonna say I'm gonna get half of them right. Five for 10.
Five. Okay. We'll see if we get five of them right.
I could see myself going 9 for 10, and I could see myself going 1 for 10. So I'm gonna just split the difference.
Yeah, I mean, luckily if somebody's being true false, I mean, you do have a 50-50 shot against something, right? But yeah, it'll be interesting. I couldn't tell how easy or how difficult these questions were going to be for you. I'll also say to our viewers, I included a couple questions more specific to Cam's team because I wanted to see if I could stump him about a fact about his team.
I think you probably can.
Yeah, I think I can, but we'll see what happens. Are you ready? Ready for question number one?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, question number one. The second to last 3-team deal was made in which calendar year? 2020 or 2021?
The second to last 3-team deal.
Yes. So I think you remember our last 3-team deal.
The last 3-team deal, yeah, was the catcher one. The one before that was the it would have been the Heriberto one. And I am pretty sure that was 2020. So I'm going to say 2020.
No, you're wrong, but I thought this is how you were going to answer this. The very first trade of 2021 was a 3-team trade.
There was like a really terrible 3-team trade, wasn't there?
Yeah, I sent Ryan Weathers to Alex and Zach. Alex and Zach sent their 2023 second round pick to Andrew, and Andrew sent your 2021 second round pick to me. And this was like right before the draft. I think this was January 28th.
January 28th. Well, so 0 for 1, not a great start, huh?
No, not a great start. All right. Next question. Number 2. EVO tied in 3 straight matchups in 2021. True or false?
Oh, 3 straight ties. I think that did happen at the beginning of the year. And I think their tie against me was the third one. I'm going to say that's true. I think I remember this happening.
Nope. The answer is false. The longest tie streak that they had at any point during the season was 2, which occurred. Let me double check how many times here. It occurred May 24th to May 30th against Anthony. Followed up by May 31st to June 6th against Alex and Zach. Both of those were 6-6 ties. They had 2 losses, 5-7 and 5-6-1 before they tied again twice. 6-6, June 21st to June 27th against Eric, and then June 28th to July 4th against Connor and Connor. And that was it for them tying twice over the course of the season, or twice in a row. But yeah, you were wrong about that one. So 9 out of 10 cannot happen.
9 out of 10 cannot happen. 1 out of 10 still can.
1 out of 10 still can. Yes. Asking 0 out of 10. But question number 3. Yuki and Anthony have made 1 trade in league history. What calendar year did this occur in? 2020 or 2021?
Yuki and Anthony. I have no idea. I am totally guessing. I'm going to say 2020 because the last one was 2021.
You are correct. It is 2020. It was the last trade of 2020.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So also in the podcast era.
Yeah, it was in the podcast era, and the 1-year anniversary of it was 2 days ago. Moneyball traded Willie Castro to Team Resnick for Jackson Kowar.
Wow, now that's an interesting trade.
That was an interesting trade. That was the last trade before that 3-team deal, interestingly enough. So right at the border for both of those. Question number 4. Who was my first loss to in 2021 after winning my first 13 games and then tying a matchup?
Oh, I know this. It was Yuki.
Yes, that is correct. Bonus point if you can tell me who I tied against the week before.
You tied Alex and Zach, I think, the week before.
Yes, bonus point for you.
Hey.
All right.
Does that mean 9 out of 10's back on the menu?
Yeah, I'd say 9 out of 10's back on the menu. All right. This question's about you, your team.
Oh.
You own exactly 2 of the 10 OBP finishers among players who had 400 plate appearances in 2021. True or false?
I own exactly 2 of 10.
Exactly 2 of 10. Emphasis on the word exactly.
Okay, the emphasis
false.
on exactly is making me think I have 3, so I'm going to go false.
Yes, you are correct.
All right, and I'm going to guess that they are Soto, Vlad, and Judge.
You are wrong about that. Interestingly, let me pull it up. You are correct about Soto.
Oh, Soto, Vlad, and India.
Yep, India was the other one. Soto 465, Vlad 401, and India 376. Judge came up just shorty at a 373 OBPs.
Okay.
You were close. I shouldn't have kept saying the emphasis on exactly, but I thought you were going to get confused as to the wording of the question and be like, oh, well, 2 of 10, like that's inclusive of 3 of 10. So, but it's fine. You did guess the 3 correctly, which I'm impressed about. All right. Question number 6. Name the 3 teams who will end 2021, barring a name change in the next 2 days, with a different team name than they finished in 2020. Finish the 2020
teams.
calendar year. There are 3 teams.
That would be you, me, and Andrew, correct?
Okay. I have to re-ask this question now because I forgot about myself. Name the 4. Okay. Okay. Name the 4 teams who will end 2021, barring a name change by a team over the next 2 days, with different team names than they finished the calendar year of 2020.
All right. So on top of you, me, and Andrew, there is a 4th.
Yes.
And that 4th is not Anthony, not Eric, not EBO, not Yuki. Maybe Alex and Zach. I'm going to come back to them. Who are people? Maybe Connor. Not Ruth Vick. Not Go with the Flow. Not the Flex and Bellies.
Yes, you are correct. An initial version of this question had you guessing what year Connor changed his name from the Yohan Moncada to the Off-White Sox.
Yeah, that was 2020, right?
Yeah, that was 2020. I thought this would be a more fun question though.
I agree.
Yeah, so congratulations. Here's another question about your team. Which season did you lead the league in a higher number of Rado categories, 2020 or 2021?
Oh no. So I finished 4th in Roto in 2020. I finished presumably 3rd or 2nd in 2021. So I'm going to say 2021.
2021 is the wrong answer.
In I have been stumped.
2021, you led in OBP. In 2020, you led in holds. And you led in play. Yeah, you had 33 holds. It's just one above Eric.
I led in holds. That's kind of funny. I know I streamed a lot of holds guys that year, specifically because of the Roto.
You did. Yeah, and it worked out for you. No, you were very solid in the Roto pitching categories that in 2020. especially the reliever ones. You were third in saves, and you were second in WHIP.
Yeah, no, I had a good pitching staff that year.
That you did. Not to mention Darvish and Bauer were still pitching well, and a few other guys as well. So at least I stumped you on one question about your team.
You did.
Question number 8. Eric currently owns 4 of the top 9 stolen base finishers from the 2021 season at this moment. How many of them did he own at the conclusion of the 2021 season? So back in October.
At the conclusion of the 2021 season?
Yes.
Oh. I don't pay too much attention to the stolen base leader, so that's going to be tough. 2?
3. He added Starling Marte. And Starling Marte, I believe, led the league.
I think he did.
Yeah, he did. Now let me see if I can go back and look at the other ones quickly. It's an interesting group. Whit Merrifield is also on that list. Shohei Ohtani's on the list. And there's one more that I will reveal once I pull this information up. Probably should have typed it all out, but it's okay. Starling Marte had 47. Whit Merrifield had 40. Those were the top 2. Jose Ramirez at 27. He was 8th and or 7th. And Shohei Ohtani was 8th with 26.
Gotcha.
And he also has Nicky Lopez, who 11th. So Eric has 5 of the top 11 stolen base guys from last year in his roster.
That's one way to guarantee one category every week.
That is.
But I mean, you get rid of one of those guys and you're still guaranteed that category every week.
Exactly. And it's not like Witt did it with a good OBP this year. It's not like Marte's going to keep up the stolen base numbers. Maybe Shohei doesn't either, but I digress. I'm actually surprised how much the Angels let Shohei steal, given that he was, hitting and pitching last year.
Yeah, I mean, he's like quite literally like the second or third fastest player in the league. So
that is true. He is so insane. Good for him.
Good for him.
Very good for him.
Shout out to Shohei Ohtani, underappreciated guy.
Yeah, very, very underappreciated. All right, question number 9. This is a multiple choice question. The only multiple choice question I put in here. As of the time of our recording, the league has made this number of trades during the calendar year of 2021. A, 92, B, 90, C, 88, D, 94, or E, 69.
See, I remember you posting this in the Slack.
Yeah, I did.
And I remember I'm pretty sure I remember the answer being 95, but that's not one of the options. So I'm at a loss, and I'm going to go with 94 because that's the closest number there to 95.
You are incorrect. The answer is B, 90.
90.
Yeah. You might have been confused by if you add up the 90 trades from 2021 and the 75 trades from 2019, you get 165. So there's a 5, which is fewer than the number of trades we made in all of 2020, which is 167.
Man, we made a lot in 2020.
We did. I mean, what else do we have to do? What's crazy to me though is like I want to see how many of those were just in that like off-season part or the 2020-2021 off-season, like from like October to December, because I'm pretty sure that number is like in the 70s. I think it was like 75 or something crazy like that. I need to double check that, because there was like we did not make a trade in a month of April or in a month of June, or in a month of April or in a month of June in only one trade in September, but we still reached the 167. So that's nuts. But
yeah, I mean, yeah, September we were in a trade lockout for most of the month.
Yeah, that is true. It was only I still remember where I was when Eric made that first trade of the offseason. I was driving to Chipotle. It was dark outside. And all of a sudden I see Jose Ramirez, Julio Rodriguez. And I remember being like, man, this might be like the only trade we see for a while. And little did I know just how much would go on the rest of that offseason. But we'll revisit that another time. That's definitely one of those off seasons that we'll be talking about for years to come. It is time for question number 10. Question number 10 is a little harder than question number 9 because I was not nice enough to make a multiple choice. How many draft picks were traded in 2021, excluding conditional picks? And what I mean by that is that if, say, your 2021 first got traded 3 times, that counts as 3. That does not count as just the 1 pick being dealt.
Oh, I have no idea where to begin. So how many draft picks were traded in 2021?
Like the individual picks?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, okay. How many draft picks were traded, or let me rephrase it this way. How many times was a draft pick traded in 2021, excluding conditional picks?
Okay. I am going to say, so there were 90 trades. I'm going to say it's definitely greater than 1 per trade. I'm going to say 137.
It was 93.
Really?
Yeah. I was surprised too. I thought it'd be in the hundreds, but it was only 93.
Really?
Because my guess is we had a couple trades that didn't involve picks, and then there was maybe like 5-ish to 10-ish like conditional picks traded that may have ended up eventually vesting, but I didn't count those. So yeah, the answer was 93, which means you got answer 1 and 2 wrong. You got 3 right. You got 4 right plus the bonus. You got 5 right. You got 6 right. And then you got the rest of them wrong. So which you means did 5.
5 out of 10. Hey.
Yeah, 5 out of 10.
Called it.
Yeah, you called it.
All right.
Yeah, that was a fun one. Hopefully 2022 produces as many interesting questions as these 10 were.
I sure hope it does. Looking forward to it being a great year for the league, for our teams, and just for all of us as human beings.
Absolutely. I am definitely looking forward to another year in this league, and it's hard for me to believe that we are embarking on year 5 of this league.
Year 5. We're going to be coming up on the 4-year anniversary of the inaugural draft will be coming up. This will be we're going to have our 4th prospect draft, which is crazy. There's just a lot of milestones. The year after that, we'll have our 5th, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
I mean, not only that, but 100th podcast episode for sure, and sometime during 2022. We're going to have our 400th trade coming up shortly. We're currently at 391. Who knows if we have a trade year that's only slightly higher than this year, we could hit our 500th trade in 2022 as well.
Wow. We could, yeah. It would, yeah, it wouldn't even have to be at 2020 levels.
Yeah. Now, somewhere here, we recorded a podcast is probably in the early January of last year, late December, when we were talking about the 300 trade. And you mean Eric guessed when the 300th trade would be. And or the 600 trade. And I'm trying to see if I can find that. I did find it. You said Valentine's Day 2023. I said the trade deadline in 2022. And Eric said January 15th, 2022.
Oh, that was for the 600th trade?
I believe that was for the 600 trade.
Okay, so you're both way under.
I mean, Eric for sure. Maybe we have like 200 trades before next year's trade deadline, which would be wild. I mean, this year we had 90 trades, and let's say no other trades are made. 90 trades in 365 days, so that's about a trade every 4 days. To have 200 trades before our trade deadline, which last year was August 20th, we would have to average whatever 20 divided by 270 is, roughly. I can't do math off the top of my head, but we would need to have a lot of trades.
We would need a lot of trades for sure.
Yeah. Anything else before we wrap up this episode?
No, that's about it. We just want to thank everyone once again for tuning in. And let's have a great 2022. This is we're still trying to find a good sign off that works for us, but have a great year.
Yeah, well, you know what? Before we sign off here, I think one more thing we should talk about. We will be having our draft on January 12th. Eric just announced that. And next week's episode will be a draft preview episode. So tune in. It's going to be a good one. Knowing the two of us, it's probably going to be a long one. But I'm really excited. And now we can wrap up. Until next year, thank you for tuning in 2021 for 45 or maybe 46 great episodes. And we will see you after New Year's.
We will.
And he almost walked 5 batters per 9. We're on the clock.
Did that come through on the recording?
I hope it did. Did you hear it?
Oh man, if it did, that's going right at the end of this episode.